How you doing, Tri-Life family? What's happening? This is Maurice Philogene. Hope everything is well. Pretty cool episode today. If you visited the Tri-Life site, you know that I do coaching and lifestyle design, sometimes specific to real estate, sometimes specific to building lifestyle you don't need vacation from, which is the whole purpose of the podcast as well, to help you get there. But from time to time, I have these one-off consultation calls. And these amazing humans who have questions relative to their own lifestyle, their own desire to get into real estate, or their own desire to be geographically free around the world will come and ask questions specific to their case study. And that was the case, if you will, with my man, Sean Ray. And Sean set up a call with me to talk about getting into real estate. But it was really specific because just like you, most likely, just like everybody else, my man has been working very hard over his life. He was married once, had a divorce. Now he's remarried, has two wonderful kids. I think they're twins and they're 2 years old. And he's starting to think to himself, how do I best set myself up for financial freedom? Is it through real estate? Is it through some other thing? And he's been following me on social media for a while, and he wanted to ask me some questions, which I asked if we could share it with you because I think it would be super relevant to your life. All right, so here's some of the things. He works in the IT space, lives out in Vegas. Starting to think about financial freedom. What is the path to get there? Like, what's the methodology to leveraging real estate to get there? But pay attention to how at the end of the call, I really do orient him on the fact that he has this amazing virtual job right now where he could build lifestyle around that virtual job and be mobile with his family while going on the financial freedom journey in the background. See, that's the thing. Everybody thinks you need financial freedom to go have a lifestyle. And I think that's totally wrong. If you have a virtual gig, or even if you have a gig that you love, like when I was a police officer, I loved what I did, so I felt free. But in this case, he has a virtual gig, so why not build the lifestyle that he wants while doing the financial stuff in the background? Anyways, I thought this was a great conversation about business, about real estate, about assets, the fact that they are purposeful, and you shouldn't just be chasing the shiny object just because someone on social media says it. We talk specific to goals. You'll hear goals be talked about a lot. Just check it out. I think it'll be very relevant for most of you who are trying to build some relative sense of financial freedom or trying to design your life in a way that is more meaningful to you. So sit back, relax. I want to thank my man, Sean, for letting me take this consultation call and put it on the podcast. And if you like it, let me know. Throw a review, throw some stars on it, and give me a sense of what I can do better. But enjoy the conversation with my man, Sean. What's happening, brother?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, thanks for connecting with me. I really, really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy. I know it is what you do. I've been listening to your content for approximately like 8 months now. A lot of it's resonating with, some things that I've been thinking about for a while. I know a lot about you based on listening to your content. I wanted to share about who I am and start getting your thoughts. So I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up there. I went to college in Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, basically studied communications, mass communications, radio, TV, theater. And coming out of college, wasn't making a whole lot of money, fell into actually IT. So I was getting involved in, IT support and administration on the IT side of things. Got married really early, like coming right out of college. Had a wife, a baby, early 20s. And 5 years later, basically divorced, and then just kind of struggling through. Now, interesting, I always had this entrepreneurial mindset coming out of college. That was during the time, it was around like 2000. A lot of the .com stuff was going on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I actually started a website. It was hbcujobs.com actually. And
nice.
my idea was to actually like have a place where people can come and look for relevant job information related to HBCUs.
Mm-hmm.
And I paid a company to help me start up. And I kept it going for a little while, but ultimately I wasn't profitable. And I think for me, when I kind of reflect on what happened, is really I never had a mentor. I never had someone who was in those like areas, those disciplines to help me through. I did seek help. I just wasn't able to connect with anybody that, I could connect with that could help me. I guess maybe just I didn't know who to talk to.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Young guy. So I basically failed that business venture. And I don't look at it as failures, just, lessons.
No, it's just something you go through. And I was the same way. I didn't have any. I had IL6 of the Fairfax County Library is what I had.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, but fast forward, I got caught up in a whole like child support and the whole like
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to figure out how to support myself in my career. And I was actually in the military as well. I was an Air National Guard.
Oh, right on. That's where I started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was considering to be an officer when I graduated, but I said, I'm just going to tough it out in the private sector and try to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really, I think for really over a decade, just really got caught up in, not necessarily caught up, but I tried to advance my career.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I started, have IT certifications and get more and more money.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as the years went by, I started learning like other folks, to learn like the more money you make, a lot of times the more money you spend. And if I was putting up money for rainy day fund, and then rainy days just kept coming and coming, and I lost. I ended up moving around into because my IT career is like really focused on hospitality side. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
hospitality industry, hotels, casinos. So that's how I got here in Vegas, which is where I live today.
You're in Vegas. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Vegas, I remarried.
Mm-hmm.
Started climbing up my career, director. Now I'm like basically senior product manager with Kroger. So I'm making like six figures, like low, like mid six figures, and feeling good about that. We my new wife, my current wife, we've been actually married for about 10 years. It's really really cool. But we just have twins.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So
congrats.
yeah, thanks. They're 2 years old, but I've been like really slammed like to take care of that. But now, so basically, I'm 47, looking at the door, saying, okay, you know, I need to get this thing together because I want time freedom, I want financial freedom,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately, if it takes me 10, 12 years to get there, then so be it. But I just want to go ahead and start getting the ball rolling. So I haven't done a whole lot of like savings, but and I'm working on that. I do get bonuses every year, not necessarily guaranteed, but pretty much they've been like way over than estimated. So approximately somewhere around 60,000 a year in bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to plan for that and say, okay, when I get the next payout, in addition to what I can save, like how should I manage that money for investment purposes? So I had, I think with real estate, I did take a look at it in years past. And I think one of the things I never really understood, I always looked at my debt to income ratio, and I would think, okay, well, if I get one rental property, that's great. But then I'm kind of stuck. I won't be able to get another one just because I didn't understand this banking industry and maybe how they I guess look at the rent that's coming in and
Yeah, they typically look
associate
at
that. But I didn't know anything about it.
yeah, they typically look at 75%. Well, it's been a while since I did single family, but they typically look at 75% of the rent coming in.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And
So
so yeah, that's something that I didn't know. And so I guess that makes sense how you could get one property, and then even though you're still paying down the mortgage on that particular property, you can get another property.
of course, as long as the numbers, the banks don't care. Well, now they might be a little bit sensitive right now because liquidity is a problem. But as long as the numbers match up on your balance sheet and you fit the criteria, they'll keep lending. That's their job, is to lend money.
So with that, this is really interesting to me. So with that, I was also concerned about, like when I was trying to do my business, I always thought about like trying to make it an LLC. You
Mhm.
know, what's your advice on that? Like if you start going out and you get, rental properties, whether they're condos or whatever,
Yeah.
and you're starting off and you're going off of, I'm assuming your own credit. Uh,
Yes, you are.
and
Mhm.
at what point you consider like doing an LLC or not, or kind of how does that work
You
in
can,
terms
you
of
can,
liability?
so write down, there's a company called Lima One Capital. You'll want that name, and I'll explain to you in a couple in a second. But let me just rehash what I heard. So, good IT job. I get the family background. Kind of in the rat race rhythm, if you will. But you're doing well. You have the ability to store money on a monthly basis, some money, but you certainly have these bonuses coming in, and you and the family are at a point where you recognize, look, we gotta be smart about investing this money and getting cash flowing assets or assets in general for the purpose of some relative time freedom, financial freedom in the future. That's what I kind of got from your
Exactly.
okay. And have you done? Do you own the home that you're in now?
Yeah, we're owners. So
Okay.
interesting. I have a situation where I wish I did it differently somewhat, but
Mm-hmm.
my wife is on the primary mortgage and
Okay.
I'm on the HELOC.
Okay.
So I have so we have that going on, but we're homeowners.
That's okay. That's fine. And all right, so you're homeowners, but you don't own. Do you have anything else on the balance sheet? Like, do you have stocks? Do you 401k? Do you IRA?
Yeah, I have a
Anything else?
mixture. I have a mixture of that, mixture of stocks.
Okay.
I don't do 401k. I did in the past, and I had to take out money for emergency to hit me with taxes, and I never just got back into it.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife has more assets in the 401k world than I do.
Okay.
But yeah,
I got you. All right. So here's the way, like when I coach people in my own financial freedom journey, I'm gonna link you. There's a podcast episode, probably not next week or the week following. I think it's in like 3 weeks, but I literally did a 20-minute spiel like 5 days ago. I was just in a hotel room and I just went off on how I went through financial freedom, how I did it. I'm gonna send you a link for that recording so you can listen to it. Okay.
Okay.
But essentially, look, I tell people you have a certain level of income, you have a certain level of expenses. The difference typically is money that you can store on a monthly basis. So let's just call it $2,000. Like if between you and your wife, if you have $2,000 of free floating cash, it needs to be sent to some storage something somewhere, like a savings account or whatever, for the specific purpose of buying an asset. The reason I say store, you've seen my post, but the reason I say storage, not savings, because storage is intentional money. You are storing that money with the specific purpose of buying an asset when the storage account has enough cash in it, right? So if you're storing money for 10 months at $2,000 a month, then you have 20 grand, then you get that awesome 60 grand bonus, you have 80 grand, boom. You have enough money to go out and buy a pretty good investment property or go into a multifamily as a syndication or whatever it is that you want to do. But you got to get into that cycle. It's just a cycle. And what people don't realize is like, okay, to get that 80 grand in the example that we just talked about, it took 10 months, right? Because you have to get, let's call it a year. You have to get your bonus, whatever. Let's call it a year. But when you go buy that first asset, let's say you use the whole 80 towards one property, okay? And let's say that property now cash flows $500 because of how you bought it, all right? We could probably get you more than $500, but let's say it cash flows for $500. Well, now when you're storing again, you're not storing $2,000 a month. You're storing $2,500 a month. And now instead of taking a year to get to 80 grand, now we're taking 11.1 months or 10.5 months, right? To get to that 80 grand. And then you buy it again. And then that next piece of property that you buy is now cash flowing a certain amount of money. And you now add that to storage. So instead of $2,500 a month, and you and your wife probably got a raise or something. So we're not talking about $2,500. Now we're talking about $3,300 if you're disciplined. And instead of it taking 10 and a half months to raise the 80 grand, now we're taking, 7 months to raise the 80 grand, right? Mm-hmm. You see how the cycle starts to get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter over time?
Yeah.
Right? That is literally how I coach people. And that is why I say you have to do this stuff in some level of boring consistency to allow the cycle to work, to put additional assets on your chessboard. Your residents will pay down those mortgages over time. Your rents will go up over time. We didn't even calculate the fact that your rent is going to probably go up, right? Over that 3 or 4 year period. So you would have been storing more money, right? But the problem with people is they just don't have the discipline to continue the storage buying asset cycle for as long as it takes. Now, as long as it takes for a family of, you, your wife, all the kids, I mean, you have real expenses. So I'm not suggesting that you only have $2,000 worth of bills or something like that. But you can increase your storage by increasing your income. You can increase your storage by decreasing your expenses, or you can do both. I have coaching students right now who, to get their storage faster because they caught the bug. Because once you buy a property, you're like, man, I want to go get another one, right? They caught the bug. So what they did was, instead of doing 20% at the job that gives, or instead of doing 80% of everything at the job that gives 20% of the result, now when they go to work, kind of the way that I was when I was in corporate, I just did 20% of the shit to do 80% of the results. I just wanted the 2 paychecks. I didn't go to the networking events. I didn't kiss someone's ass. I didn't take a second role or something, whatever, because I was always doing something else that was making money too. So some of my coaching students have virtual jobs, and they didn't tell the first virtual job that they went out and got a full-time second virtual job. They're just meshing them. And the interesting thing is, one coaching student has been able to pull it off for 1.5 years. She's starting to wear down because it's a lot of coordination and like meshing schedules and things like that.
I've actually done that. I lasted about 9-10 months, so I'm familiar with it.
Yeah,
that, I mean, that helped me get through a really rough time and put up a lot of money, and I could do
that's
it
the
again.
thing.
I mean,
It's a
Elon
purpose.
Musk does it, so I don't know what
Oh,
the
yep.
issue is, right?
Exactly. So, but here's the thing, and that's why the top level of the whole 10-step process I talk about is you got to know your why for doing this stuff. If
Yeah.
you and the family want to prep for the future, then you're like, hell yeah, I'm going to work this second thing for an 8-month period. And 100% of what comes out of that second one is going 100% to storage. And then at 8 months, you're like, okay, I'm done with the second one.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
disciplined and how aggressive do you want to be? It just depends. But that is legitimately the cycle. That's how I coach people on how to leverage real estate or any asset. It could be buying stocks, it could be buying gold. It doesn't matter. People get so caught up on the amount of money, and I'm saying get caught up on the habit of it. Right? I've
Yes.
been buying assets since I was 24, 23 years old. I've just never stopped.
So your thoughts on I guess the Burr model and this type of economy, it like for my situation where I don't
Yeah.
have that first property, and I'm familiar with, if I get a property here in Las Vegas, for example,
Mm-hmm.
my experience with contractors hasn't been good. Sometimes they're unreliable. Sometimes you can't trust them. I've had to do a lot of, just for my own personal home renovation, I've had to do a lot
Sure.
of oversight. And then materials are expensive, and so
I personally never used the Burr. I never used it. I was never a renovation guy. I was a house hack guy, meaning I bought a condo, I lived in it, but I bought it with the specific intent of renting it out. So I would buy it and get a mortgage at a level where I knew the rent was going to cover the mortgage after I moved out. Right? You're in a little bit different situation because you have a family. Funny thing is, when I post that, people are like, I just had a lady who made a comment and she said, and I understand where she's coming from. She's like, that's very easy for you to say, but when I'm a single mom and I don't have this, this, and this, and my response to her was, that's interesting you say that, because I was 25 years old when I had my first son who was autistic, and we house hacked 9 houses together. 9. I mean, he didn't care as long as dad was there, right? And
right.
now we're financially capable, so I don't buy that. But relative to Burr, you don't have to use it. If you don't want, please, when you think about investing, do the thing that feels natural to you. Don't do the thing that, like, oh, I see everybody on the internet doing this, so I'm going to do this. If it makes sense for you to buy a property that is renovated so you have peace of mind and mental stability over it, then do that. Maybe if you did Burr because there's a bit more risk, and with more risk comes reward, maybe it might move a little bit faster. But I would prefer to move a little bit slower and have peace of mind, knowing exactly what I'm buying and knowing I'm not gonna, that I didn't buy a money pit. But it's all
Yes.
just a choice.
Yeah, that's what I'm really concerned about, making that wise decision and not get into that, like you mentioned, money pit. Obviously, everything's a risk, right? But I want to minimize that risk, and I definitely don't want to get to a situation where I'm getting something that is a major rehab or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Your thoughts on, I'm just rattling off in
No,
my mind,
please.
not
Yep,
by
yep.
any like order.
Yeah.
So I looked into, like I was considering, like, okay, I saw you had Quattro Capital, and I guess people can invest, and I said, okay, well, let me see if I can invest. And then I read that for certified investors, I believe it was you have to have like $1 million worth of assets separate from your
Yeah.
primary home.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So that's what's called being an accredited investor.
Okay.
An accredited investor has a net worth of $1 million outside of their primary home, or you've made $200,000 the last 2 years and reasonably expect to make $200,000 this year, or $300,000 as a couple with your wife. However, Quattro and other companies, we actually pride ourselves on doing deals that sophisticated investors can get involved in. Meaning, you generally just have to have money sense, which you do. Because I'm an old school guy, right? I got police officers that invest with me now and firefighters that invest with me now. I never want to forget where I came from, ever. You and I didn't know about this stuff when we were younger. We didn't have access to these vehicles of wealth, right?
Right.
So while we have had 1 or 2 deals that have been accredited only, there's been specific reasons for it. But roughly, I'd say 80% of our deals has been available to everybody. So
Oh,
it's available.
okay. Oh,
Yep.
cool. So with that, just want to understand this a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Once a person, let's just say, a person invests, $60,000, whatever it is, into the real estate fund.
Mhm.
Is that perpetual, I guess, investment capital and return throughout the duration of the project, or is it, it gets paid off after a certain amount of
Yeah.
time?
So
How does that work?
let's talk different kinds of funds. Okay. When we have a deal specific fund, it's specific to the property that we are buying. So you would have, let's say the last deal we just did, the Emile in Houston, 240 units. We bought it for 38 million. We raised 17.2 million. So if you had $100,000 in that deal, the cash flow from that deal is expected to be 6%. So it's $6,000 a year while you wait for the property to appreciate. Okay. We always target 20% average rate of return. And on that deal, it's a 5-year hold. So conceivably, you're doubling your money in 5 years. All right. So that's how that would work if it's property specific. If it's not property specific, like we have a fund right now, because a lot of people want cash flow. There's an issue right now in the industry where liquidity is really tight. Like the banking industry is making things very difficult because they're not giving us, we've already got the loan from them, but they got to give us the draw, which is already approved. But the draw is the money that we use to go renovate the place to get the values up and all that type of stuff. Because liquidity is tight and the Fed is hiking up interest rates, the banks are being really particular about letting that money out, which causes us a problem because we need to do the renovations, which causes my investors problems because I'm not really sending out cash flow right now because I need to keep as much money in the deal as possible. So when you look at a property specific deal, you got to look at it from a long-term perspective, especially with what's happening in the industry right now. Everyone will make their 20%, but they got to be patient because it's a long-term play now. The fund that we have going on right now is an 8% cash flow fund. It's a debt fund because a lot of people are interested in cash flow. They want to put 100 grand in a deal and they want to know that 8 grand is going to come back every year. So we set up a debt fund to deal with some of the issues that we're having with lenders. We effectively were being our own lender. And in that fund's case, you're not getting the equity pop. You're just getting the 8% cash flow, where if it was deal specific, you're getting the fact that we bought the property at 38 million and we're selling the property at 60 million. What's your percentage of the share, right? For the cash flow fund, you're just getting pure cash flow, no upside on it. So it just depends on what type of thing you want to do or how you want your money to behave.
And so with that, for example, if you're involved in the cash flow, 8% cash flow
Yep.
Option, for example, then are you considered a part owner? And then what?
No, because that one is a debt fund. That's pure debt. It's not tied to a particular property. What the Quattro partners are doing, we're saying, look, we're raising $5 million, and for that $5 million, we're going to give you 8% on a quarterly basis for 3 years. You're like, well, what is that backed by, Maurice? Well, it's backed by the Quattro partners personally, and it's backed by our portfolio of almost $200 million worth of real estate. So in that case, it's not that you're a part owner, it's that you are a lender to us and we're paying you every 3 months, you're getting a check from us. And at the end of the 3-year period, you get your principal back.
Okay. And with the property specific, would you be a part owner or no?
You are a part owner, correct. Because when you buy a share, when you're coming in on the property, like the Emile that we have in Houston, when you come in on that property, you're buying a piece of the company that owns the property. We set up an LLC, the LLC owns the property, and your percentage ownership pro rata to the amount of money. So let's say 100,000, you put in 100,000, 100,000 divided by 17.2 million, whatever that is, that's your ownership share. You are a part owner of the limit. That's what an LP is, a limited partner, but you are part owner of that company which owns the property.
Okay. And obviously that means you take the good and you also take the bad.
You take the good, you take the bad. But for a lot of people, especially people who are coming in with retirement funds or are long-term minded because they know they're going to be working for a long time, they're not worried about receiving the cash flow right now. What they want is the big bang at the end. They want we bought it at 38, we're selling it at 65 money, right? So, yeah.
Oh, this is fascinating. I've just never been in this world, so I'm just a new guy, just asking a whole lot of
Yeah.
questions. It's interesting,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
and I don't mind starting where I'm starting. It's just everybody starts where they start, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
I was just kind of looking at some of my notes here as I had a question about a few things.
Yeah, you did ask me
Yeah,
about the
so
LLC thing real quick. If you're going to buy a property like a single family, idea at some point you want to make sure it's in the name of an LLC. Every property I own outside of the one that I personally live in is in the name of an, which I will put in. No, I can't because my military status gets rid of state property taxes for me, so I have to have the house in my personal name. But everything else I own is in the name of an LLC, and that's liability issues, pure and simple. You don't want it to be in your name because if something happens at that property, then the resident can actually sue you. And the LLCs that I have owned in the past have been sued. They've been sued by the condo association. They've been sued by the resident for whatever ridiculous reason, but they can't pierce that corporate veil to come after me, the individual, because that's what an LLC is for. So you want to get it in the name of an LLC.
so would you get it in the name of? Would you buy a property in the name of LLC? Uh, well, initially going to the bank as an LLC. Like I'm a new person, I
Yep.
haven't started, and I'll go into the bank and I opened up an account with
Yeah.
a credit union, and I have a LLC, but I don't have any history.
Yep.
Or do you get it as a like on your
There's a
own and
couple
you
ways to do it.
swap it?
Couple ways to do it. So when I was doing it, when I was doing single family in DC, Maryland, Virginia, what I would do is I would buy it in my own name. In Maryland, it's specifically, there is a clause that allows you to do what's called a quit claim. A quit claim, meaning the state will allow you to transfer the title into the name of an LLC because they know what you're trying to do. They know that you're trying to protect yourself. Usually, when a property changes ownership, deed to deed, you got to pay recordation taxes and all kinds of taxes. But they waive that in favor of you putting it in the name of the LLC. Now, here's the interesting part. The bank, you have a mortgage clause for that mortgage you got. And that mortgage clause says you, Sean, have to maintain this property in your name for the duration of the mortgage. That's the clause that's there, right?
Yeah.
If technically, if they find out that the property has changed ownership to an LLC, technically, they could call the loan due, technically. But I have never seen it happen because all they care about is that payment coming in,
Yeah, interest.
right? Yeah, they're not worried about that. So
Yeah.
you can buy it in your own name, quit claim. You have to check your state rules, but quit claim it to an LLC. Or the reason I gave you the name Lima One Capital is because Lima One Capital will issue a loan in the name of an LLC, but it will still be tied to you personally. But they
Oh,
will
okay.
allow you to put it in the name of an LLC, but you're going to pay higher rates on that stuff because obviously it's more of a business loan than it is, you buying it as an individual.
Oh, if you go in initially as an LLC from the
Yes.
very beginning.
Yep. It's going to be higher rates. There's more
All right.
risk, right? Because they're not coming after you personally if something happens, technically, but they can come after you. There's ways they can do it.
Okay. And I'm assuming that I need to be prepared for maybe what, like 25% loan for if I decide to go off of my own name as an investor, sort of.
Roughly, I would say 10 to 20% if you're going to go the traditional funding route. I think it's going to be like 20%, maybe a little bit more nowadays because of liquidity issues. You could find seller financing. You could find no money down stuff. It does exist, but I would be prepared to put some level of money down.
Okay.
Mhm.
Your thoughts on like condos as opposed to, like single family, uh, buying property and renting it. In Vegas, I've just learned about this, but I guess Marriott has properties, and these properties have condos in them,
Mhm.
and you can purchase one of those properties, and then
They'll rent it
basically,
out for you.
yeah, basically Marriott handles, yeah, and you have some responsibility, I'm sure, but they handle a lot of logistics and renting it out on a regular basis. And I don't know a whole lot about that model, but and others with condos and as opposed to single family. But your thoughts on that?
I have no problem with condos. I never have. I kind of fell into them when I began my career because that's just what a realtor told me to buy because they were 100 grand. A condo fee to me is just another line item expense, just like electric or gas. It's just another fee you got to factor into what you are doing. What you need to be careful of is, remember, condo fees is a fee that the condo association collects from you so they can do all these services on your behalf, maintain the exterior of the property, maintain the roof, potentially some services within the building, et cetera, et cetera. If that condo association is being mismanaged, it could hurt at some point, because then they could mismanage the money and then all of a sudden come back to Sean and say, hey, listen, we've run out of money. We're going to do a special assessment. We need you to pay us an extra $1,000 a month for the next 12 months to help us get secure, whatever. I've bought in my career probably 40, 45 condos. I only had a special assessment happen once. And when it happened, it hurt. It was $1,800 for 18 months.
Ouch.
It was a lot, because the roof, it was an old World War II era building. The roof just was horrible. They didn't have it in the budget. It is what it is. But what do I really care? Because the other 40 that I bought did just fine. So it was whatever, right? As long as your inflows and outflows make sense, Sean, I don't have a problem. I also like the fact that condo associations take care of a lot of the maintenance issues and services. I don't want to do that stuff. I want my time, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm paying someone to do it, and then the rent that I'm getting from the person who uses the property is covering that stuff, and I'm making some profit, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a blend where I have a little bit more time, because I have the twins and I have, a job, and then I might even have a second job, and I still want to own the property, but I might not be able to be fully hands-on with managing. I understand you got to put in work, right? No matter whatever you do.
I don't
But
think you have to put in work, Sean. I don't think that's the case at all. People say that, but what you have to be willing to do is, if it's not a condo, or regardless, even if it is a condo, but if you're going to buy a regular home, a townhome, a condo, whatever, just get a property manager and pay them the 10%. It makes no sense. I understand people, I don't want to pay 10%. I want to keep that money for myself. Really? Your $100 profit, you don't want to give $10 away of it so you can spend your time finding the next property rather than going there to have to paint something, right?
Yeah.
So not the big multifamily stuff that I have, but the single family stuff that I have, I still have 5 local property managers. When I'm overseas, they call for decisions. They don't bother me unless there's a decision to be made, or I call them when I don't see a check come through. I don't deal with that stuff at all.
Oh, that's cool right there. That's
That's the way it should be.
that's almost about as passive as you can get.
That's it. I mean, it takes time to set all that up, but once it's all set up, I mean, there's some properties I haven't seen in 12, 13, 14 years, and they still pay. Property managers take care of it all.
I heard that you mentioned about Cyprus, and I thought that was really interesting and fascinating. That project, is that a project where basically you're building properties, and then you'll have others actually buy you'll be able to sell the properties to other folks who are interested in it?
Yeah, I mean, Cyprus, that whole thing, what people don't realize when I talk about that, Cyprus is my 3rd real estate life. I did not necessarily do it for money. I did it because I wanted a different lifestyle. I wanted to be part of something and not just be the American dude who would show up and eat at a restaurant and then leave again, right? Like, I wanted to be part of the community. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting, I've never done development before. My business partner has been doing development for a very long time. He's from the island, and the construction. So, like, my first project is a neighborhood of 12 villas. The construction of those villas is funded by the sales of the villas. So I sent a little bit of money up front, let's call it 60, 70, 80 grand to do some stuff. But essentially, when the buyers give down payments towards their plots or whatever, we can use that money to start construction. And then when we get to a certain phase, the buyers have to send more money because, hey, we've finished 25% of your home, send us more. They send the money, et cetera, et cetera. So the construction of it is actually funded by the sale. So your outlay as an investor is not that much in the beginning because it's being replenished by the sales. You just have to make sure that you're in an area where the sales are really strong. And where I am, the sales are extremely strong. So none of that has to do with the bank. It's all funded by sales themselves.
No, that's really neat. I didn't know much about that. I'm assuming that same type of model happens here all the time
Oh,
in the States.
I never knew about it. Again, when I started developing over there, it was to have a different lifestyle. And then now I'm starting to realize developers have been doing this forever. It's all funded off of when people are buying plots of land and property and things of that nature. And okay, we have a certain amount of money, we can start building now. They might float a little bit of the money, or they might go to the bank and get, $1 million to do something right quick, but it gets replenished really fast with the sales.
Wow. Yeah, that's neat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay. I might want to visit you in Cyprus one day.
You're more than welcome.
I'm not big on like personally. I can travel a couple times a year to international, and I'm cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily have to go, that far. I could just sort of, around the town with my family, enjoying things here. Set up my movie room in the basement, have a good time, be at my kids' games, and I'm cool. But a couple times a year, going somewhere like international is great. Right now, we don't do a whole lot of international travel. We went to China a few times, but for the most part, it's been more domestic. Next year, we might go to Canada, something like that.
Yeah.
But
You gotta find whatever
uh,
your niche is. I mean, I'm there a lot, but I'm there purposefully. Like you hear me talk a lot about building lifestyle you don't need a vacation from. I don't really take vacations anymore because it's typically like I'm in DC now. I was just in Cyprus and Lebanon. I flew back to DC. My son had a swimming championship. I did not want to miss that. So I'm here for 2 weeks now. He's actually going to his mom's side of the family's house in Canada for a week and a half. I'm going to go back overseas when he's gone. And then we're going to meet up in the middle. And then I'm going to pick him up and we're going to go back overseas again. It's just a lifestyle I've chosen, but it's funded by all the work I did creating passive income over the years. So it's not like I'm not living this, crazy thing. It's just that I treat airplanes like Ubers. It's no different to me. Like I can take a 9-hour ride to Athens or whatever, and I sleep the whole time. I'm usually in business. I sleep the whole time. I wake up, I go to the lounge, I take a shower, and I go start my day. One of the Try Life On principles is we have the ability to make the world small. The world is very big, but if you start getting used to travel hacking and all the tips and tricks and all that type stuff and treating the airport like a bus station, because it really is, it's not this massive thing. It's just a place that gets you from point A to point B. Then me going to Athens for 2 days or me flying out to Istanbul in Turkey is like, all right, I'll be right back. It's no big deal.
yeah, definitely. Uh, I had a thought about. I want to find out your thoughts on commercial real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Obviously, I mean, I don't even have a single property at all, but I don't know anything about the commercial real estate world. I guess basically what I'm trying to figure out for me, and I think we've already hit the nail on the head, but I just want to confirm. I guess I'm looking for like a strategy and and your advice on the basically the best opportunity for me to start and to get started with my investment. Would it be
Yeah.
going the route of the investment into a fund? Would
Mm-hmm.
it be initially going the route of getting that single family or getting rental property investment?
Mm-hmm.
Just that first start. So I just want to settle on a strategy and just go for it and just stick, to try to be proficient in that.
Yeah. Before I even suggest single family, multifamily, active investing, passive investing, stocks, but it doesn't, none of it matters. What matters is your why and your goal. If your goal is like, hey Mo, look, my family, we got 6 grand of bills a month, and here's the 6 grand. We got 2 grand for our mortgage. The fearsome twosome cost me about 2 grand, and then me and my wife want to go out. Like we got 6 grand. I'm like, okay, well then your goal is probably to generate 7 or 8 grand at some point in life. Okay, you can, and I do this with my coaching students all the time. We do what's called a financial blueprint based on how much money you can store, based on bonuses, based on what you have on your balance sheet already. Like if your wife has assets and stuff, we can kind of move them around the chessboard and shit like that. And we can actually figure out how long it's going to take to get to that 8 grand, right? But real estate as a vehicle is purposeful. You don't, I cringe when people are like, I'm going to go do big multifamily. And my question is why? If you are interested in seeing your real estate being there, touching it, being part of the business thing, then I don't think you want to go to multifamily because you're just a limited partner and you're calling Mo all the time for updates. If you want to be more active, maybe you are doing single family. If your wife wants to feel more comfortable, maybe that single family is in Vegas, right? But it's all the goal. It's all the goal and what you have comfortability with. So when people are like, Maurice, you were doing single family for 15 years. Why didn't you just trade all that shit in and go do something else? Oh, it worked. My goal was to get $100 or $13,000 worth of cash flow. I might have got it faster with big multifamily at the time, which I didn't understand, or office stuff, which I didn't understand. What I understood was everyone needs a home to live. I like that. That makes sense to me. What I also understood was it was in my relative neighborhood within an hour or two of where I was. I like that. I can control the property managers, and if I need to see them in person, I can go see them. I like that. So I just stuck with that, right? It's purposeful to your goal. If you don't think you want to be an active investor, then you can trust someone like me or like a Quattro Capital and come into our larger deals. But you have to understand, when you go with a company like Quattro Capital, you are investing in that company's ability to go do the investment for you. See what I mean? You own the property, but you're like, no, I'm going to trust Mo to do it. Or you can go do something on your own. So it's tough for me to say without like really getting into your mindset and understanding the true goals behind it all, which is what I do with my coaching students, but this is a little bit different.
Yeah, no, I understand. And initially, I think that's what I know this what I'm trying to do is to just replace the bills, cover the bills, and then from there, figure out, how to then add on, to bring in, additional funds. And then I'm just trying to even figure out how long do I want to work for, companies. I haven't figured that out yet. I mean, if obviously if I hit the lottery today and I had enough, right, I probably wouldn't work for the company. I probably would do my own thing.
Right.
But yeah, I'm just really now realistically trying to figure, okay, should I do this? 10 more years, maybe. I mean, I like what I do for the most part. I mean, I like what I do. I don't like the politics necessarily, but I work from home. I'm probably like 95% of the time I'm working from home. I go out to Cincinnati, Ohio, maybe once a quarter for maybe like 4 days. Other than that, it's all working from remote. I do get up at like 4:30 in the morning because I start at 5 a.m.
That's a good day right there.
To meet the East Coast time.
Yeah.
But,
that sounds like a good day. And I, Sean, in my coaching, like, the financial freedom stuff is great. And we just nominally talked about like storing money and then getting to a point where you have enough for a down payment, buy an investment property. I got all that. So you kind of get the flow. But what I like about what you said, which is not totally clear to everyone, is there are other freedoms too. There's geographic freedom. There's freedom to execute on your purpose. There's freedom to build meaningful relationships. I think people are freer than most when you are basing your life around a virtual gig. Honestly. You are. It's just that now, you have these kids and you have this beautiful wife and you're static in Vegas, and that's kind of where you run your life. But a lot of people have started to choose to be mobile in life. And mobile doesn't mean Sean going to Cyprus every week. That's not what I'm suggesting. But mobile can mean, because you can work from anywhere and because your kids are smaller and not necessarily in the formal school system yet and all that type of stuff, you can go do stuff with your wife and go work from Utah for a month or go work from Cabo in Mexico for 2 months. That's the thing that I keep stressing to people, that adults do not explore life anymore. Adults don't explore life. What's happening is adults keep thinking, I have to be financially free before I go do cool stuff. So we just stay in this rat race. But the funny thing is, when we were kids, we never thought that way. We were just outside riding bikes, hopping a fence, playing hide and go seek, going in the woods, lighting something on fire, kicking a can. We just went to go do stuff. But you have this awesome virtual gig, and I just want to call it out. You could live freer than most, even with your kids. I have coaching students who are full-on families with 3-4 kids who are now like one family, it's a brother, one family, 2 kids, Austin, he's a CPA, and they just moved to Jamaica for 2 months because he can do everything remote. Yeah. I was like, why are you in Austin? Well, because I don't know why. Well, I got to see my mom. I'm like, well, how often do you see your mom? Well, like once every 2 weeks. Well, great. Then get a flight back once every 2 weeks. Go live life, But at the same time, while you're living life and being intentional about that, build your financial freedom in the background. That's what I was always doing, was building my financial freedom in the background.
Yeah, that's definitely, something that resonates with me. I I actually was just speaking with my wife about this not that long ago because we were talking about travel and said, we can just take a month and and go to France because
Yeah.
we were talking just just take a month and go and just because like you mentioned because I have this remote thing. She said, well, what if they call me and tell me that I need to go be at a corporate meeting or something? I tell them
That's a,
I have a family obligation or I just go and come back. One
right.
of the two,
I mean, it's a plane ticket. Maybe she has enough points. I mean, that's why I collect points, right? If I ever
Yeah.
have something, but see, that's the mentality. Nothing wrong with your wife. I'm just suggesting that, like, change from if only to what if. Just change it, right? Because it's just like, why are we holding ourselves back when we could have been doing this stuff the whole time? Whatever it is that you want to do, Anyway, it's just for consideration. I just wanted to highlight the fact that you have one of the most amazing tools, which is a virtual job, which means you and your family can be doing quite a bit.
Yeah, no, this is great. And thanks for giving the tips. I couldn't remember how long did we have. Was 45 minutes or an hour?
I think we
50
have an
minutes?
hour.
Okay. Um, yeah, and I was just trying to make sure I cover my list. I think we hit on the major things I had in mind.
Right. I did promise you. Let me go get that link now before I forget. Let me track that down. Like on media, podcast, raw recordings, and then I did. Here, breaking the money rat race. This one. I think this will be beneficial for you. You'll
Okay,
have it
cool.
even before people have it.
Advice on one of the things just popped in my head. Advice on me finding properties outside of like MLS where probably almost everybody's looking. Uh, I don't know much about auctions or any other type of publications or.
I wouldn't focus on, look, you can find property anywhere. You can find it on MLS, you can find it on realtor.com, you can find it on Redfin, you can find it on LoopNet. While I do look for properties from time to time, or I used to look for properties from time to time, I was more concerned with the who versus the what. I was more concerned with building relationships with 4 or 5 different brokers who knew exactly what I was looking for and knew that they would get a commission if they could find me something to buy. So I let them do the work. I was too busy at work, right? So that would be my message to you is like, sometimes it's okay to focus on the who versus the what. And you give them parameters and you say to them when you meet them, listen, blank, 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 this is what I'm trying to do. I'm working with a mentor. I plan on buying two rental properties a year. I don't want a one-time transaction with you. I want to build a relationship where you know exactly what I'm looking for. And every time you see it, you get it for me. And then we go build something together. That makes people different. That makes people like, yeah, no, I want to work with this guy because I can grow into something, right? So the chances of them finding you good stuff, as long as you come through and buy one or two here and there, it's very high. So you let them do the work.
Would realtor be? I know it could be brokers, broker and realtor. I guess could be one and the same. I
Yeah.
guess, but would you also consider the same thing with building a relationship with a realtor, or more so go through the broker?
I'm using it interchangeably. I just mean a
Okay,
realtor.
okay, okay.
Yeah, I just mean a realtor. I that statement about building a relationship also stands for property managers too, because property managers, obviously, what I did really well was I established those relationships with those property managers in the DC area, and every time my realtor would give me something to buy, thank you, realtor. Let me buy this. Okay, property manager, here you go. I just handed it off. Like, even if I could make, let's say I could make 8% cash on cash return with this property in DC, or I could make 15% cash on cash return out in Kentucky. I'm still going to do the DC one all day because I'm just plugging it in.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? It's the
yes, yes,
system.
yeah.
So while other
System.
people are going places chasing returns and having to rebuild something everywhere they go, no, I was just like, no, let me just leverage the system that I have already.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do. Uh, this is like not related to real estate,
Okay.
but I think you're a mega
I
sci-fi,
am.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
I'm
doubt.
Phi Beta, the Phi Beta Sigma over
My man.
here. The Pan Hellenic brother.
My man, my man. We are everywhere. We are
Yes.
everywhere for sure.
We know
Yeah,
it's like those degrees of connection that you don't really think about. Like so many people are connected in so many different ways, don't even know
that's what's up. That's what's up.
it. No, this is cool, man. I mean, I have enough information to digest right here, and
Cool.
really, this has really, truly, genuinely helped me. I've already been, like researching this, and the reason why it was really key for me to talk to you because there is so much information out here, and some of it's noise. There's so much on YouTube and other platforms, and
Yeah,
people
it's
say,
hard.
one person says do this and do that, and it's just so much information, and I needed to figure out, okay, make sure that I'm following, like the sound advice and the best advice for me personally, and
Yeah.
then to be able to move forward. And I guess I'm at this point in my life where I'm at least mature enough to not jump on anything that I necessarily hear because I've heard a lot of different stuff online.
I know, and
Yeah.
like there's so much noise out there. I made a post about this the other day. You got to start practicing information diets. Find one or two things that resonate with you and just stop. That's why I give myself a bit of credit for doing the condos back in the day because even though I could have chased something else, as I just expressed to you, I just got it from my realtor, gave it to my property manager. Got it from my realtor, gave it to my property manager, and I just press repeat. While other people are seeing the new shiny thing that shows up and they get so distracted, and now I'm going to go buy Bitcoin, and now I'm going to get a whole life insurance policy, and now
Right.
I'm going to do this. No, man, just at some point get just enough information, brother, and just jump and just go after that one thing and stick with it. And I highly encourage you, whether it's reaching out to someone like me the way that you did or hiring someone formally, get a mentor because that mentor will accelerate the time frame for you to reach that goal by magnitudes. What's the point? Like, why are we out here reinventing the wheel when people have already done what it is that we are trying to do? Right. So if someone's trying to financial freedom, okay, they reach out to Mo. If they are trying to buy apartment complexes, sometimes they reach out to me, but I spend more time on the investor relations side of it nowadays. But they might reach out to my partner, Chad. He has led us through 30 apartment complex acquisitions in just over 3 years. He knows it. Why am I going to go try and figure this whole thing out on my pay for people's time, whatever your finances are, to the extent that you can afford it. Find someone who has done the thing exactly that it is you want to do, pay for their time to get it done.
Cool,
That's my
cool.
secret. That's how I've been doing things so quickly in the past 3, 4, 5 years is I pay for people's time.
Yeah, I mean, you're the first person I've ever paid for the time, to be honest with you. And I should
Wow.
have did it years ago, but I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't, credibility was a factor.
Yeah, man. I totally get
And
it. I
so
totally
once
get
I,
it.
once I figured out, okay, yeah, you know, the guy's solid. Let me go ahead and do this. So moving forward, if I wanted to get either your time or somebody, you recommend, like how
Yeah.
much should I expect to be able to, like how much should I expect to bring to the table for, I don't know how it's structured. Is it like for 90 days, 180 days? And
My formal coaching
yeah,
or just these
well,
one-off.
one-offs and formal, just like both.
Well, you just did a one-off, and what I you're more than welcome to do a one-off again whenever you'd like to. You just go to the website, do a one-off. But what I suggest to people is like, be really prepared. I will give you as much as you give me. Like if you come with 38 questions on how I did this deal and this thing, and how did you design your life here, and how did you get this country, and how did you build relationships with these people, how did you fail that coffee shop? I hit it. Like let's go.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a one-off, know why you're coming and bring questions like that, and I'll hit it. The
Okay.
formal coaching is a bit different. The formal coaching is 3 months. I've never gone beyond 3 months. It's not necessary. It is building lifestyle you don't need vacation from. It is exactly what I was kind of alluding to that you have the ability to do because you have this virtual career while you're buying real estate in the background to build your financial freedom uh, plan out, right? But we essentially, everybody, the way that I said adults don't dream, we forgot. So what I push you guys to do is to write down your perfect day. Where do you want to be? What does it smell like? Who are you with? How's your wife feel that day? Da da da. Are you overseas? Are you running your business? Like whatever that is. Then we set goals in time, financial, geographic, purpose, and relationship freedom buckets. We'll set goals. You have blockers to achieving some of those goals. Financial freedom, one of the blockers is you didn't know which Like, what's the method? And can I do real estate? No. You had a blocker. Well, the action item to get over the blocker is the things that you and I would co-create together. For some people, they don't have a virtual job. They want to be around the world, yet they work for the US federal government in DC. Get a new job. Why are you just sitting there, right? So we'll list out all the blockers. We'll create or co-create action items to get over all the blockers, and we hit it. Over a 3-month period, it's what do we got to do? Who does Mo know in his network that can get stuff done faster? What is the approach? How does travel hacking work relative to geographic freedom? Who else can you connect me with who's already doing this in this place? We just attack lifestyle like nobody's business. But of course, finance plays a big role in that. So we do a lifestyle blueprint, but we also do a financial blueprint to get you on that schedule that I talked about and get you confident in executing that schedule, whether you're with or without me. But the formal coaching is a 3-month coaching. We meet once a week, accountability calls, certain exercises. And then whether you do the coaching or the consultation, which you already did, I'm going to add your email to, we have a Slack group. There are people in there who've done full-on coaching and consultation, but at least you have a tribe of like-minded people who are trying to get more out of lifestyle in that group, right? And that's what we were all missing. We're all missing each other because all we get is like, yo, what's the professor telling us coming out of college?
I know. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I love it. I definitely am going to, I know I'm going to do another coaching session.
Sure.
And like you mentioned, because I know I'm going to have more questions as we go. I'm going to make sure like you mentioned, I'm going to have some detailed questions, just some things that are on my mind. I guess I'll send them to you beforehand too. And then, definitely talk it through. I try to put some questions together this time around, but they, for me, they're so high level because I just don't know a whole lot,
No, don't worry. Well, it's fine. No, fine. Do it again and come back, and I'll be happy to meet with you, brother. It's my pleasure, and I'll get you in that chat group right away.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. My pleasure, brother.
Okay, now.
All right, man.
See you again. See you on LinkedIn.
Okay. Bye-bye. Take care, man. Bye-bye. Hey guys, this is Maurice, host of the Try Life On podcast, and thank you for listening to another episode. I hope you are finding it useful in helping you design your own lifestyle that you don't need a vacation from. If that's the case, please consider dropping a review for me, whether in Apple, iTunes, or in Spotify. Drop a review, put some stars on it, give me some feedback on how I can make the podcast better, what information you are looking for. I am doing my best to get information to you on the Try Life On principles, the 5 freedoms, how to build lifestyle, travel hacking, all of it. And I want to do it for you. So please do a review for me. And until next time, my name is Maurice Philogene, and this is the Try Life On podcast. Peace.